Hey guys, welcome back. So today on this video, we are talking about the form W-9, and more specifically, I'm going to quickly answer a question I keep getting a lot on one of my other videos, and that is, what is a W-9 form? So let's go ahead and talk about this. First off, guys, real quick video, but I'm going to give you a brief rundown on what a W-9 form is and how I filled this out in my experience. Of course, this is an important tax document, so if you have any specific questions, you should be talking to your accountant or your tax advisor. But why would you want to know what a W-9 form is anyways? Well, that's pretty easy. If you are an online worker or an influencer, you know that a lot of times when you get a brand deal, you will receive what's called a W-9 form, and the brands will ask you to fill this out, and it is required in order for you to receive your payment. So I've already pulled up the W-9 form. This is directly from the IRS website. So first off, on a W-9 form, what this is, it is a tax document that the brand is going to be requiring you to fill out in order to be receiving payment from them. And the reason for that is because they need to know who they're paying. So for example, my name's Anthony. If I just tell them, can you pay Anthony? Sometimes that's not a problem. However, if they are organized in their accounting practices, they need to know exactly who they paid, because if they get audited by the IRS, they need to show a paper trail of where the money went. So they can't just say, well, we spent $3 million on marketing, and then the IRS, well, who did you pay? And if they don't have the W-9 form with your tax ID or your social security number, then it could be an issue for them as far as tax purposes. Also, another reason that they might require a W-9 form is because if your name, let's say, is Anthony Johnson, there happens to be a lot of Anthony Johnsons in the US. So how are they able to differentiate who they paid? So with this W-9 form, it's going to show that person as Anthony Johnson, and then it's also going to confirm their unique social security number or their unique employer identification number, which is basically a tax ID number. So that way, when they're explaining themselves to the IRS, there is no confusion on who they paid. Now you might be saying to yourself, well, that's pretty easy. Usually what I'll do is I'll go ahead and just give a fake social security number or fake tax ID number. You definitely don't want to do that, because that is going against the IRS rules, and there are fees and penalties if you decide to do that. So basically, this is just an accounting document. Also, another reason that you might be filling out a W-9 form is, for example, my name's Anthony, but let's say my company is ABC123, and I accept payments under my company name, not me. So when I'm filling out this W-9, I'm not going to put Anthony. I'm going to go ahead and put my social security number here. I would actually use my tax ID number, and that way the payment goes to my company and not for me. Now that's really going to depend on your tax situation and how you set that up, so that's a question for your accountant. However, when you're filling this out, you do need to put your name here, but also you can go ahead and put your company name there. Also, another reason that these brands might be requesting a W-9 is they want to have a record of where they're sending the payment. So as you know, most of the brand deals that we receive, they're going to go ahead and wire you the money, and that's usually going to be an ACH transfer. I guess sometimes they'll go ahead and send PayPal. However, some of these companies still mail out paper checks, so they're always going to have the actual address for you here on this form. So you're going to go ahead and fill out that address right here. And that way, if the company ever decides to go ahead and mail you a check, maybe it's a final payment for your brand deal, there you can easily reference the actual address that you put on the W-9. Also, another reason that you might be filling out a W-9 form is you might be required to have backup withholding for the IRS. So if you scroll down here to page 2, it does give you a little bit of description on what backup withholding is. So down here, usually you're going to know from your accountant if you are required to disclose that you need backup withholding. And basically all this is if you check that box backup withholding, your brand deal, they are required to hold back 24%, as you can see right here, 24% of your payments. So if you have a payout of, let's say, $1,000 for your brand deal, it's going to mean that you're only going to receive $760, and then $240 would be withheld from that payment that is sent directly to the IRS from that company. There are various reasons for backup withholding, but that's a question for your accountant. So this is a pretty normal form, especially when you're receiving payments from companies. Now, I've always filled this out anytime a brand asks me to go ahead and complete the W-9, because if you don't fill out this form and send it back to them, a lot of times you're not going to be able to get paid. Now, if you read through the form itself, especially in the backup withholding section, it lets you know that sometimes if you don't fill out the W-9 form, those brands still will send you a payment, but they will not exempt you from backup withholding. So they're going to hold back 24% from what is required by the IRS right here. Now, one thing I want to let you know is you don't want to just fill this out for everybody. So if you're working with a new brand and you feel like it might be a scam, I'm not sure if I would fill out a W-9. I would only fill this out if I'm absolutely certain for the customer or company that I'm going to be working for, because on this form you will be disclosing your tax ID number, which is kind of confidential, and then also your company setup, the address, things like that. Also, another thing I want to note is this comes along with, it looks like 6 different pages of information. I'm sorry, 5 pages, and then the first page. So when I'm printing this out to send to my clients, I'm going to go ahead and print off only page 1, since this is the only form that has your signature right here, and then the data and your tax ID number. The other ones are just informational. So to make a long story short, in my opinion, from the hundreds of these W-9 forms that I filled out, this is more of a CYA requirement from the IRS, and that way whoever's paying you can confirm who they're sending the payment out to, and that way they can reference that in the future to the IRS. So there you have it, guys. If you're wondering what a W-9 tax form is, that's my experience with the IRS W-9 form. If you have something to add to that, be sure to leave a comment below. Let the rest of us know. Hopefully you found that video useful. If so, click thumbs up or maybe consider subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks again for watching.